Recording in progress.
Walk up, and it's always like, just as I go to walk to her, then I get the email.
Good evening. Welcome to the public session of the Chatham Township Committee meeting for November 8th, 2023, the workshop meeting, obviously. Can we have a pledge allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. I guess we should do the roll call even if we didn't do it before.
Today's November 14th.
Oh, geez. I'm reading off the form. So,
No worries.
obviously it's November 14th. Yeah.
Mr. Troy?
Here.
Mrs. Ewald?
Here.
Mr. Lois?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Hamilton?
Here.
And Mayor Felice is absent.
That's correct. And before we start the meeting, I'm obviously the deputy mayor, and just want to let everybody know, anyone who's watching at home or here in person, that we all join in congratulating the mayor on the recent arrival of her baby, healthy, happy baby girl. The mayor's doing great, baby's doing great in her home, and she's a little preoccupied to be here tonight, but we wish best wishes to Mayor Felice, her husband, her other two daughters, and the happy family. So, with that said, this is a workshop meeting, and I think we'll start with the reports from administration.
Perfect, thank you, Acting Mayor. I'll just go down the line with everything. First off,
I'm
whether.
sorry, before you start, we're supposed to have hearing in public session.
Oh.
We just got a call, sorry.
I don't normally do this. Yes, that's right. We do have the first hearing of the public citizens. I do have the script here, which is currently the committee meeting is rooms open to the public, and we look forward to having you join us. Additionally, the meeting is being made available for public participation remotely. If you are watching via Zoom, you may speak during the public comment session following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you're recognized to speak, please say your name, spell your last name, and give your street number. As a reminder, all public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, we will wait until you finish speaking before responding. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment during the public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments, and duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full, according to guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. Greg, were there any written comments submitted?
We did not receive any.
Is there anybody online?
I do not see any hands raised.
And does anybody in the public wish to say anything? No, apparently not. So we will close the first public comment session. Thank you, Stacy, for the reminder. And now our administrator will go down the agenda.
So a couple things have been brought to our attention, or we've got on the docket for introduction at the next meeting. Just for reference, the next meeting is our last opportunity to introduce ordinances for this year, since we can't carry them over. One of the ordinances that we may introduce, depending on this discussion, is one to update and revise our drone ordinance. It was brought to our attention by a member of the public that ours may not necessarily be in full compliance because the FAA and the federal government changed their regulations after our ordinance was enacted. So I'll turn it over to our attorney if he came to explain.
So there's two components of the ordinance. One is where the drones can be operated from. One precludes it from municipal property. Municipal property can be controlled by the governing body. It's your property. So I don't see a problem with that. There's safety issues I'm sure that the prior governing body looked at when they passed the ordinance that's on the books. You don't want people running around with drones and flying into maybe parks where people are playing soccer and whatnot. So there is a inherent duty and a right for you to preclude drones from flying in parks. I guess you could allow it. You could put time restrictions on it, or maybe certain times of the year. You could do all that stuff. So that part of the ordinance is not problematic. The other issue is the height. Your ordinance states that they cannot go over, I think, 500, no, 400, I think, 400, or I don't have it in front of me, 400 or 500 feet above a building. That is in compliance with the federal law that I saw. There's also the ability to preclude certain pieces of property in the township, if it's deemed a safety or an issue where you don't want people to come into, like your DPW yard, maybe your water facilities, your sewer facilities, police station. You can go to the federal government and ask that these be considered a protected property, and then you can exclude them from any drone flying. So you may want to look at that, but I don't. The ordinance actually is pretty good. It was prior to the change of the current federal changes, and it was actually a pretty good ordinance. I didn't think it overstepped that much. But there was a question that I went back. I mentioned it to Ziad, if we want to maybe go to the federal government and say these are properties that we think should be protected, based upon security of your water, your maybe electric. If there's certain stations you don't want the drones flying. I'm sure in the easements for PSE&G, those types of things.
So I'm sorry, I'm a little confused, because you said there were two things, and the first one was that there wouldn't be any problem with protecting municipal property.
Correct.
So this one's more of a height?
And then the other one is a height. When there's a building, you have to go over, you have to be so many feet above the building.
So I guess one of them is whether they can be on our property to launch the drone from the property, and the second one is if somebody launches a drone from another property and flies it over our government property, if we want to deem, let's say, the
Okay.
WPC sensitive or PD sensitive.
So it's like airspace constraints?
Correct, so one of them will be airspace, one of them is physically, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the first one, you're saying, the ordinance covers launching from our property, which is fine. The other one is whether we want to, restrict airspace over our properties.
Yeah. And there are certain, you can't come, someone couldn't, Mike couldn't, get his drone from his property and then start buzzing soccer players on our fields. You couldn't do that. There's height restrictions. You have to keep that drone at a certain height.
Oh, okay.
So if there's, think about it. I don't know if there's any guidance. We'll have another workshop in December. If you have some feedback that you want to incorporate changes, let us know. If you just want us to do kind of the bare minimum with that, just to clean it up so it's not, there's no conflicts with the federal regulations, then we can get that done, the next meeting.
And your ordinance does protect it, someone flying a drone into someone's window looking at that, again, based upon the height of building heights. It would be so far above it.
I would like to see a carve out for our organizations that are already providing us with insurance, if this would be possible as a qualifier. So for instance, let's say our soccer program, our lacrosse program, whatever, there is the ability for these drones to follow if you have, a Bluetooth connection or something on you, right, that it can follow you. And I could see that this would be used as a training tool potentially. And I don't want to preclude our sports, our kids, or anything from, using whatever technology, as long as it's something from that organization, right? It's so in other words, they're aware of it, they're encouraging it, they want it there. I would like to see, like, if they wanted to use a drone, why would we not want them to?
Or like weddings, people, I know at weddings they use a drone and they take private events, sporting event,
But I don't know how we qualify it, but it seems to me like that insurance or that group, because everyone who's using our fields for organized sport purposes is qualified already in a certain way. Maybe we can limit it that way.
Or could we have them apply, so this way, we can make sure if there's any requirements, so insurance requirements or, indemnification requirements, I don't know what.
Okay. But so you would want girls field hockey to have to apply for a drone license to use a drone during practice to videotape them so that they could get better?
But I wanna make sure that they've got coverage, so if their drone starts hitting people, that we're not, on our field, that we're not liable.
if they use it to, they would
Yeah,
hold us harmless for.
Mm-hmm.
But how is that different than any other sporting equipment they're using? They're using sporting equipment.
Yeah,
get hit with a ball, you could get hit with a stick.
Let me look at it.
Yeah, we could.
Maybe I'll pull some other, other ordinances from other towns, maybe they have something in it, in their ordinance.
And the only other thing is, like for flyovers and things, I mean, on Bing, you can already do bird's eye view and see not only a satellite top down, but you can see a very close angle of your home and all the, everything in the town. I mean, everything. So while we might think we're doing something very productive, there's a tremendous amount of aerial footage.
Yeah, this is from 2015, I think, the ordinance, right, 2015?
Yeah, it was an old ordinance.
That's
No, but
all
I'm
it
saying,
was.
like, if we were to say like, hey, we wanna cordon off so you can't see the WPC, I'm saying, you're right, you can. And not only not only is it like, every year, the satellite imagery updates and increases in resolution, but there's also bird's eye view aerial photos, of angled shots, 360, and you can often change the season. Like, there's tremendous amount of aerial.
Both aerial and street view in many cases.
Yeah, it's tremendous amount of aerial.
I think it's more probably really the damage that could be done, to critical infrastructure. If a drone operator is a young kid and goes into a.
I think I don't have any problem with there being something, I just don't think that, I'd like to see the minimum.
Understood.
Anything else on that? The other one is a reimbursement request for, correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, that was a food truck, that was part of the food truck festival
Yeah.
the PBA was putting on. It had to get canceled because of weather, and one of the food truck operators was requesting a refund for their fire prevention.
Yeah, their fire prevention permit and their temporary retail food license. We have 2 vendors that have submitted requests.
So if there's no objection, we'll send those on the agenda. We've discussed this one in executive at the last meeting, the PBA agreement, the resolution will be on for the next agenda. There was a request from 2 members of the governing body to add the following for discussion. It's Senate Resolution 3739. I believe that was included as well, and that one is supporting legislation at the Senate to delay the next round of affordable housing settlement talks. Do you want to speak? You and the mayor had sent that one over. No, that's really all it is. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to add to it. It's just
No, I mean,
supporting
it's
resolution to delay
it's
that.
bipartisan, it's got support from both sides. Yeah, and that's basically all it's doing, is it's asking for additional time for the next round.
Yeah, largely related to, I think the language was, because of the pandemic, when the pandemic affecting things, the economy affecting things, supply chain issues, all of those lending to a need for a delay of the next round of negotiations, so.
And it seeks to push it back 3 years from 2025 to 2028. And many Morris County towns have already adopted this resolution and gotten copies from several of them. So it's something that has wide support countywide.
Do you want to add that?
We were just talking about adding it.
Yeah, if you want to add a resolution to support the Senate resolution.
I see the resolution, but we can talk about the next meeting. That sounds like something I'm totally behind.
Okay. Any other thoughts, concerns? Okay. We discussed the employee handbook updates in executive, so that would also be a resolution for the next meeting. For discussion, there is the best practices checklist. That is part of an annual process from the state as part of their evaluation of how local governments are doing in complying with regulations and best practices, and it ties into our state aid. So we included the survey results, and we included our score that we submitted. It was 39 points, and you need a minimum of 29 to get no aid withholding, so we're 10 points ahead. No aid will be withheld. We're doing very well, I think, in a lot of these areas, and typically the way this best practices inventory is structured is they give you unscored questions as well, and those unscored questions are what lead to questions that will be scored in future years, so they're kind of giving you a heads up, 1 or 2 years out, that these are things to be mindful of. So, I think we're doing a good job, some areas to tighten up, and we've done some tightening up over the last year, and we'll continue to do so. But we have to add this to an agenda item, workshop or regular. So that's part of the state's process, is we have to let them know at what meeting it was discussed and brought up.
In terms of changes to score well in the future, you know, some of those indications that you saw, is there anything significant that's gotta change? Or?
I don't think anything significant, honestly. Nothing that stands out. You know, a lot of on the unscored survey stuff is the lead-based paint. There's, you know, requirements at the state level that municipalities do lead-based paint inspections for rental units, because there's a lot of old housing inventory in towns that, you know, had lead-based paint, and they want to make sure that vulnerable populations aren't living in conditions that you know, are subpar or risk their health. So they put that mandate on municipalities. I would say that's the biggest thing for us, and that was one of the biggest things in the unscored survey. Overall, like I said, I think we're doing well. There's not too much. You know, there were some things related to the fire departments and our contributions to, you know, first aid and emergency volunteer organizations, which we tightened that up this year in terms of the finances and how they flow through our accounting system. So we, like I said, we moved positively for all the big stuff. The last one under admin is Hickory Square paving. They came back to it. Actually, Greg, was that included?
I don't recall if we had any updated documents.
Okay.
Did
Well,
we get something from them?
yeah, we did. I thought we'll push that off to December because you didn't have the. There was an email from them that I wanted to make sure that you all saw. So I'll make sure it's in the next packet. We can discuss that then. Clerk, we got the report from the clerk. Any questions for him on that?
And, did you want to talk about the schedule, the next
Wait.
year's schedule?
Yeah,
Well, before you do that,
anything on the report first?
Anything on the
No,
report?
thank you.
All right, now the schedule. Just want to make sure there's nothing there.
Okay, so I circulated a draft set of meeting dates for next year. For the most part, it sticks to the second and fourth Tuesdays as we've done this year. So the reorganization meeting for next year is already set for January 2nd. And then I threw in adding, having meetings on January 9th and 23rd to keep the workshop and regular meeting structure that we've been doing. Insofar as there's any deviation from that, this would call for having one meeting in July and one meeting in August like we normally do, and then one meeting in November as not to conflict with the week of Thanksgiving. And then December, it would be on the 3rd and the 17th, doing the first and third Tuesday rather than second and fourth, since the fourth Tuesday would be Christmas Eve. Or we can have just one meeting in December if the committee desires. But yeah, this is something that would be approved at the reorganization meeting in January. I just wanted to sort of lay it out now for any comment.
My only comment was the reorg meeting is January 7th, which is, you know, a week into the year, and so you have no, and.
Well, that would be in 2025.
Oh, for for next year.
For next year.
For 25.
For 25, sorry.
Yeah.
So for 2025, it's January 7th.
Yeah, 'cause that would be the first Tuesday of that year, because the statute is that it has to be within the first week of the year. We can move it up. It would just be a day other than Tuesday, if we have it earlier than the 7th.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, I guess we only have one position that would have to be sworn in, so you'd still have an operating committee for those. Because I just remember there was one year where it was pushed out, and you know, you don't have a mayor selected for that time, you don't have a deputy mayor selected for that time.
Because January 1st in 2025 is a Wednesday, the 2nd is a Thursday, the 3rd is a Friday.
I wonder if we should do January 2nd, because you also have the 7th and the 9th back to back. We should do that.
Well, so January 9th is 2024. January 7th at the bottom of the list is
That's the
25.
It's
Oh, my
2025.
I'm getting my, okay.
So for 2024, this coming one, he's talking about January 2nd, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's fine.
because January 2nd was already noticed at our reorg this year, so
Mhm.
January 2nd is already set.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, typically at every reorg, we set the date for the reorg the following year.
Yes.
And, you know, if we want to do the reorg so this would be 2025, I'm talking about, if we want to set that for Thursday, January 2nd, that's perfectly fine with me.
There's a, yeah,
You guys can always leave it till later too. I mean, it doesn't have to be decided now, it's ideal, but.
Yeah. But at the very least, I just wanted to get a jump on it, so that way when I prepare the reorg packet, I just wanted to have directions so we're not debating it at the reorg.
okay. That was the only thing where I was kinda like, I didn't really want it when it gets pushed out into the year. That'd be the one time we'd have a major storm
Which-
and, you know.
And to that end, yeah, you know, having it that little bit earlier helps with our other boards, so that way, filling the planning board, filling the board of health, filling, you know, every board, it's that much easier for, you know, getting that business done, since the appointments happen at the reorg.
Okay.
And then, you know, then we'll worry about 2025 dates after that, a year from now.
Do we really need the 2 meetings, and the reorg in January? I mean, do you think we could just go with the 1 meeting and maybe make it like 3rd week in January or something?
Well-
Just because there's 3 meetings and it's just my experience, cause there is kind of like that break, right, where like you're gonna we kind of know what ordinances are coming on in January anyway, right, like the heavy lift stuff, like we had a.
I try to anticipate as much as I can with these workshops, so the thought is that in December, I would, you know, myself and the department heads are doing our best to anticipate for January, so. But every workshop, I try to anticipate for the following month as well. It's up to you. Right? We've made it work. We're making it work in December with 1 meeting. We've made it work in the summer, so it's up to you guys.
But to your point is, with the reorg that's on the 2nd, do we believe the need to have 2 other meetings in January?
So typically the reorg is more of a ceremonial meeting, swearing in,
We're not really
mayors,
transacting
swearing in
much
committee
business,
members. And then like the resolutions are more boilerplate type stuff. It's not, I mean, not to say that it's not substantive, but it's not things that are, you know, generally up for serious discussion.
Do you wanna just do the 23rd and not, right, it's the 9th
Yeah.
and the 23rd?
Yeah, we can
I'm just
either,
wondering in terms of like, any ordinances or financing or types of stuff that has to be done at the beginning of the year, if we wanna wait till the December meeting and then decide whether or not we have the 2 meetings.
Yeah,
If you-
I
if
mean,
we
we're not
need them.
deciding now.
Yeah,
but
This
we-
was just to get you all thinking about it
Yeah, okay.
and, you know, put it on your radar. The next meeting, there's still time, so the December meeting, we can still talk about it and decide, but, you know, if you wanna just keep the 23rd, where nothing can carry over, so anything that we're doing is gonna be a first reading anyways.
Like nothing can carry over, and then there's gonna be a bunch of new people that need to come onto certain boards, and there's generally a little bit of, you know, there's a little bit of
It's a-
scatters that happens.
So always put it on and cancel it.
Yeah, that too.
Mm-hmm.
So-
yeah, cause I just sort of assumed that, you know, the first meeting was a workshop, just bringing everybody up to speed for what we're accomplishing, but, you know, if we either split the difference and have it on the 16th, or just go with the 23rd and do like what we did at some meetings this year of having the half-hour workshop beforehand, and then,
I would suggest though, just keeping either the 9th or the 23rd. The 16th is the day after MLK too.
sure, yeah.
So, you know,
Mhm.
getting
I
the,
think that's a better idea, the 23rd.
Well, but
I mean, it just seems to me like it gets really busy, right, in February, March, April, leading up to the budget. That's the really busy. January, I know, but there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of things that can go on. You know, maybe even that night, you can kind of reclaim it and do something more productive than.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
meet with
fine if
us.
we wanna hold it for now that way, and then just in December, if we find otherwise, because you'll have the sense by then.
yeah, I mean, I'll keep the list like this for now, and then when it gets to that week between Christmas and New Year's, then we can,
Mhm.
you know, make a decision if we wanna have both or just one.
right? Anything else under clerk? All right, construction report, pretty self-explanatory. I didn't get any questions on that one, but any discussion to be had on that tonight? All right,
The only thing I do wanna bring up just about construction, there's been a bunch of things that some comments and things that have come to me prior, and I'll express it another time, but just, I just noticed that the drop box out front is gone. We used to have like a drop box where there was like permit drop-offs and and pickups and things, and what we have is not big enough now to accept, like the box that we have right now is not big enough, and there used to be forms outside.
You're talking about that big orange cabinet?
Yeah, I mean, that was not an elegant thing, it was not an elegant solution, but there was a solution, there was some sort of amenity, and now we have none, and there were some forms and things outside that were being kept too, so in case people want to pick up. I just hate to see an amenities lost, you know, I'm sure for cleanup purposes or whatever, it serves some purpose, but I'm just letting you know that I have noticed the lack.
Yeah. I'll talk to the construction official, see if he knows anything about when or why that roof didn't.
Because that was originally put out there during COVID when people weren't allowed in the building.
Okay.
I think I mean, I don't wanna speculate, but again, having it out there, you know, people are putting different forms, people are making payments, and they're
Maybe
putting
for-
things in the wrong
maybe
boxes.
for election, they moved them, so people would be confused, I don't know.
Now, the mail-in ballot box is pretty obvious. I would
Yeah,
think.
but between tax payment and all that stuff, I mean, it was probably moved, and also for accountability, because people say, oh, I put it there, and, you know, it's not the most secure thing, so if we wanna go back, we could look at getting a more secure, type of cabinet that looks better.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to him about that.
Thank you.
Engineering, we've got our stormwater control ordinance, we're gonna push that off, for the next meeting, actually in January, so John can come and discuss that with all of you, but we did get that review back from the county, and they're okay with it with a few minor changes. So
There's something to talk about at a workshop in January.
yeah, we'll talk about that one in January for intro. Arbor Green bond reduction, there was a request from the developer to further reduce the bond, mostly on on the maintenance side of things. Pete, you were involved in that, do you wanna just talk about it briefly?
Yes, John had put, the town engineer had put a number together. The attorney had called me and said he didn't think, he thought that number was a little high, so he's willing to give us something. And we're supposed to sit down with John, myself, him, and his engineer to try to come up with the right number.
So the goal is to have that resolution for the next meeting.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about it is that project is not gonna be deeded over to the town. So it's really not a public improvement, that you see. So if there is maintenance issues, you have the enforceability through your zoning department to go there and issue summonses for the enforceability. Plus the, maintenance bond would only be for, 3 years? You know, there
Right.
shouldn't be any issues or problems, hopefully. But John was a little bit cautious based upon some of the change orders that had to be, or the changes had to be done, while the building was being built. It was built a little bit under, a little bit lower than it showed on the plans, and then they had to do some grading, issues with it. So he was a little concerned about that, but again, there's some, I understand the argument of the, Arbor Green.
So we'll have a resolution to further that reduction in the next meeting, in line with John's letter and recommendation. We're also hoping, I put it on here just as a bookmark, we're hoping to make an award for the 2014 Safe Routes to Schools project. You know, we bid that out once before. The bids were in need of rejection and re-advertising, so they've been advertised, they've been opened. John is reviewing them. We opened them, last week, right?
Yeah, that was on Thursday.
So John's reviewing them, and depending on his review, he might send something over to Peter for his further review, and we will try to make an award at either the November or December meeting if there's no issues with the state. And he submitted his report as well. Any questions or concerns on any of this?
I have a question about his report. He had mentioned in his report about the Shunpike parking plan that was almost complete.
Yes.
Do you have anything for us on that?
I don't have that finalized yet.
Okay. Is there a timeline on that?
He's working on a lot of things. I don't have a specific timeline on it.
And there's no like urgency.
No, there's no urgency on it, and there's only so much we can do right now. But I know he's doing his due diligence with permitting and utilities and all the stuff to ensure that whatever's proposed is feasible. So, yeah, as soon as I get something, it'll be included. finance. Ordinances and resolutions, two things. So there was a memo that was attached, actually two memos attached with the agenda. One of them, the P card, that's known as a purchase card. That is a state program. It's called a procurement card. It actually functions like a very heavily restricted debit card, but it's run by Bank of America on behalf of the state, and it's a very very regulated process. The reason we're doing it is we don't have that process here in place. What a lot of employees have been doing is making purchases on their own with credit cards and submitting for reimbursement, and that's for things that don't accept purchase orders. I've done a lot to tighten up our financial practices here in town. This is one of the last remaining things. Some employees, whether it's for our Zoom account, for example, or if it is for certain webs like our domain registration, Township.org. There's a couple other things, very limited uses that we would do this. It would be only one card and maintained by finance rather than giving them out to department heads to use. So if a department head needs to make a purchase that needs the services of a credit card equivalent, they would go through finance. We would authorize that purchase, and it would be made for that limited purpose. It's to cut down on the reimbursement process. It's not fair also for employees to have to outlay that cash, wait for the whole process to play out to get that reimbursement, and it's also not good for us to track those purchases because it looks like Ziad Shahadi is the vendor as opposed to the actual vendor that's selling the product. So in order to do that, we have to pass a resolution, pass the resolution and put together a whole set of guidelines, all of that which we've done already and were included in the memo.
I assume you could put notifications on that, if it's heavily restricted.
Yes. Yeah, there's like a web-based portal too that we go in to administer and get alerts and emails and all this stuff, but you load it up so it's not like it's just a blank check either.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How many cards do you think?
We're only getting one.
Only
Yeah,
one.
we're only going to get one. We're not issuing it out. Like some towns issue them to department heads, and the department heads can use it. There's a whole reporting system that still has to go in place. But we don't have such a wide need for all the department heads to have it. But there are, I would say, about 6 things right now that, at least 6 things that need credit cards. Like I said, domain is one of them. Trying to set up like a MailChimp or Constant Contact so we can have a mailing list system. The Zoom is the other one, and I've got a couple other things that escape me right now, but it's, like I said, very limited for what we would be using it. The other one is our deferred comp plan. So Debbie also put together a memo on that. We currently have Empower, which is the prudential arm of deferred compensation plans. We've got 2 plans. One of them is an older plan, and that was established well before 2000. Nobody's currently contributing to that. It's just former employees that are in that plan. The cost to it is a little high. Empower's customer service is also terrible. We've been having a lot of issues with them. Equitable has a large number of our participants, active ones, and some retirees. So we want to abandon the Empower plan, move it all over to Equitable. That will also increase the pool, which will help reduce the fees. So employees will also see more money in their pocket that way. In order to do that, you need to pass a resolution, and that's what's included we're hoping for the November meeting. Any thoughts or concerns there?
It looked like there was no cost to the town.
No cost to us, correct, yeah. It's the participants are the ones that are paying, so we'll go from 1.2 with Equitable, which is currently who we have, for the active participants, it's gonna go from 1.2 to 0.44 because of the added pool that's coming over from Empower. So it saves our employees some money as well. Okay, she also included her report, and any questions on that one? Just so everybody knows, we've started the budget process as promised. As I mentioned, 2022 was my first year interim acting, all this. budget was already in place, catching up. We did the 2023 budget, still got it done in time, but a little later than I would like. This year, we're doing it even earlier, now that the whole process, everybody's familiar with it, the templates are there. We've met with nearly all the departments, I think there's only a few more left. So we'll have the operating budget, a draft of it hopefully finalized in the beginning of December for review of the finance committee. And then after that, we'll be working on capital. All the capital requests have come in, almost all the capital requests have come in. Just a few departments that need to finalize theirs, 2 of them. And we'll also have that reviewed and finalized in December, so that way we're ready to go for 2024 for introduction.
Great, that was, you answered my question,
Yeah.
the capital request.
Yes, yeah. Police, nothing there other than the report. Actually, I'm sorry, there is one thing that was sort of added last minute, the chief emailed me about, but I'll touch that if there's no questions on the report.
I have
Yeah.
just one question on the report, just, actually, it's a little bit off the report, but it's just, do we have any results on our, the Narcan opioid sort of mailing that we did? Like,
Yeah.
what were the requests, or what was the spend on that project, or it's just any hard numbers there?
Yeah, the spend was minimal. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know. I'll have to pull that up. I think it was about maybe like 1,500 to 2,000 total. Largely, it may have actually been closer to 3. It was the videotaping, the
Yeah, from
mailing.
the bills list, it looked like the mailing was about 2 or 2,200.
Right.
Then
Then there was the video
new
recording.
production, yes, about 1,500.
Yeah, so maybe it was like 3,500 or so.
But in terms of requests for
Yeah,
kids.
so requests, we got quite a bit. I think we got, let me just pull this up here, almost 70 requests.
For individual.
And some of them are still coming in actually, which is pretty good. So they're trickling in, like every week I'll get maybe 1 or 2.
Okay.
And we want to do another push, I think we'll do another push for it. A lot of people also requested them and didn't follow through with picking them up, so then we mailed out a whole bunch, so then there was the cost of postage to mail them out, which is like about like $2.50, $3.
And the kits weren't inexpensive, right? I mean, you're talking about.
The kids, we got them for free actually. Originally,
Oh,
I had
okay.
set in my mind like a budget for them,
Mhm.
but the state has a program which we said, let's see if we could leverage that. We were able to request through the police department what's known as these like leave behind kits. So that's what these were. So we got them through the state distribution network. If we didn't, then we were gonna buy some, but now they've kind of just become free in so many ways.
Great. And then, so it looks like it was a pretty successful program, but, and we might be able to pay it again, but it looked like there was even more settlement money coming in, right? And has that been coming in periodically? or
So
something?
it comes in, it's a little unpredictable, but it comes in from multiple sources, and we're gonna keep getting it, I think through 2030, you know, Pete, I think through 2030, every year we're gonna be getting little bits of it. So it's hard to kind of put together I know some towns have said, well, we're gonna hire a social worker for our police department, or we're gonna hire, this type of staff. But when you don't really know how much is coming in and out, it's hard to, say, okay, we're gonna hire somebody at $40,000 a year part-time, for example, when that income is unpredictable in terms of frequency, the timing, and all of this. So we will continue to get money, and right now it's sitting in this grant account until we get a better handle. We just did our first report, and the county is trying to get all the towns to actually give them their money, so the county can run a program on behalf of all the towns.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't committed to anything. We're just kind of, I think it's prudent for us to maybe wait a little bit, see how much we build up, get an idea of like a year's trend of the payments, and go through the whole reporting process. If we don't spend anything, we have to do a report. If we spend anything, then we have to do this report, and the report is not easy, and I believe we have to do it quarterly. It's a very lengthy report. They ask you for these metrics and all this analysis. So I think right now we want to look at other opportunities on maybe, some of the ideas that I had were whether we could use that to subsidize the first aid squad or our fire volunteers, because we're making payments right now out of our budget for them. And if this can be used to offset that, and it's a valid expense under the contract, I think that makes makes a lot of sense. Provides some tax relief and supports our first aid organizations.
Yeah.
So a little bit more research to be done on there. We spent a very small amount, which is good, but it was, I think, a meaningful amount for our first go. The other one under police, if you may remember, we did get a grant from the state for ALPRs, somewhere around 60 to 80,000. I can't remember exactly what. We were going to go ahead and buy them, and then the Attorney General's office froze all the funds for all the recipients because there were concerns with the vendors that were providing ALPR compliant cameras because of the bids and the technology and the components, because there's a lot of restrictions on where these components come from, FCC and China regulations and all this. So they just unfroze, or they're saying they're going to be unfreezing them soon. So if that happens, then we'll have a resolution on the agenda to actually go ahead and buy the cameras finally. So either next meeting in November or in December. Public Works, the styrofoam recycling contract, we did discuss that previously. We're just waiting on the contract that Madison wants us to use. I haven't gotten it, which is why it wasn't included in the agenda. I apologize, but I did want to bookmark it here in case we do get it, but it would be in accordance with the terms that we discussed at the last meeting. There is...
I used that place again since the last meeting.
Oh, you did? All right. You're like the most prolific user of the styrofoam.
And Rich has been actively trying to get that contract.
Yeah. The next one is a change order for the roof. Now, you may recall we did award a contract. It was a large contract for the roof replacement for one of the storage garages, the storage units over at DPW. As the roofer was going out there, peeling back the metal roof, they realized there was no plywood underneath. And so in order to put the shingles as part of this contract, we would need to put plywood. I think it was almost, what, 200, do you remember, Greg? It was like 200 something sheets of plywood. It was a big cost.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
But maybe you weren't included, I apologize. So before we go ahead and approve that change order, we got John involved because we want to make sure structurally it can hold the plywood as well. There is a little concern that structurally it may not be sound for plywood, which would then mean we'd have to go back to a metal roof for it or look at other options altogether. So.
Spray membrane. No, like, get it down to metal, just EPDM.
Yeah.
That would be up to John, right?
So, just something in the works going on behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
we'll have more information for you at the November or December meeting.
This building is all the way in the back.
This building, or the DPW building?
Yes, that's one question.
I think it's storage one, which is the closer one.
Oh, okay.
Not because there's 3 buildings.
Right.
Yeah, so I believe it's the middle one.
Okay. I know.
And Rich provided a report. Any questions on the report? Yeah. No questions on the report?
I just have
Yes.
one question on the report. He had mentioned some regrading at the recycling center. They had regraded a wall, and it looks like there's like quite a bit of tree removal in order to do that. They regraded some dirt, and anyway, most of the trees that were there are now gone. And I'm just wondering about, on our municipal property, we have a pretty serious tree permit, for private property. But it seems like on municipal property, we've got, especially in a spot like that, we've got a lot of trees that, come down, or like in our parks, a lot of trees come down, and we don't replant. Seems to me like we should be leading by example. We should be replanting, especially like in our parks and places where we're missing trees.
Yeah, I agree. We'll get on that. I mean, he may already have that in the plan, just
Sure.
based on weather, and then, tree budget, so, I'll follow up with him on that.
Thank you.
Anything else on DPW?
Mark brought up the tree ordinance. Wasn't John working on, or were we not exploring, with regards to the tree ordinance, some way of providing a simplified version for homeowners?
Yeah, so we received, the state put out some model ordinances as well, and and we have ours, so we sent ours to the state for their review first, before we go ahead and rewrite something and, not get it right, if we've got something that we could work off of, because some towns don't have anything at all. So right now we sent what we've got, and we'll hear back from them, and we'll use that guidance to move us.
Draft it.
Yeah. Anything else there? Recreation, no legislation anticipated there. We received the monthly report, and Larry and I prepared the membership and financial report, and we also put out a survey with a lot of results. I think we got almost 140 something results, just shy of 150 as of the providing this report to you. We may have gotten a few more since, but it slowed down. In the beginning, it was almost 120 that came in all at once, and then started to trickle off. But overall, you know, we put them together in a visual and gave you the raw data for you to review. I would say overall, from what you can see, the feedback was pretty positive. There was constructive feedback in the comments, but overall, I think the membership is pretty happy over there.
Yeah. The report says it's still collecting. Do you have an idea of when you want to shut that off?
I'm looking at it now. We've only got 2 more that came in since I published this, so it's really trickled off. You know, I don't think the few that are coming in are gonna change anything, but we'll probably end it at the end of this month.
Okay.
I've given it 1 whole month.
I just have, my concern is a couple, I think the number of responses is good. I have a little bit of concern about how we solicited them, because it was solicited by email, right, to membership was what I would assume.
Yep.
And that was good. But it wasn't like posted to the Facebook page, it wasn't posted multiple ways. And then this kind of feeds back in my other comment, which is that I don't believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems that, or maybe you could tell me, how are we trying to ensure that we receive sort of like one survey from one member?
So it's hard to get 1 survey from 1 member when it's anonymous. Yeah, I don't say it's impossible, but it's very difficult to do. However, the survey results did get tagged by an IP address and a timestamp.
Right.
So, you know, I filtered them out by IP address just to make sure there's no duplicates. There were a few, but the duplicates were not, I would say, intentional. It was because somebody clicked submit probably twice, because you'd see the results were the exact same thing, maybe 1 minute after. So, you know, that's really the best way to, I think, to do it. The other way, if you really wanted to get technical, which then we'd have to, I think, go above and beyond, is assigning sort of like a unique code and mailing out a postcard, so that way that code can only be used once. But I don't think anybody is, you know, nefariously or
Stacking the deck.
trying to stack the deck here. I mean, all the responses, you can see from the response, they look genuine and unique.
And it's a survey too, so
Right.
it's, I mean, it states.
Yeah, it's not a
true or-
poll necessarily or a vote.
Yeah, exactly, it's a survey, so that's fine. One thing that I did notice though is that because the wording of the categories, as it went down from, you know, from good being the middle to being, it said needs improvement and then poor. If you looked at the responses, 1% of the responses came back in the poor category for the overall, let's say. And that will tell you that basically people, because of the wording, I believe, needs improvement, that's more positive than forward-looking. So people, I mean, only 1% of people are choosing poor for a category. It kind of makes that part of the range of the scale irrelevant. You see, so it's sort of like shifting the range of the scale. And also, so that's all I'll say about that. But the other thing I would say is, just initially, if you've got 9% that come back and say, hey, it needs improvement on the overall, and then you have any category where it's more than 9% that say it needs improvement, you know that there's quite a few people that are cross-feeding into that. And we could do a better dive, you know, with the whole data, with all the data in the spreadsheet. But I see, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but what I'm trying to say to you is, you know, statistically speaking, like, if you were to fit like a regression line to this, that's where you would want to look. You know, where you're exceeding the needs improvement and below ratings for a certain category. That's what would be the areas of improvement.
Right.
I mean, I saw the summary data, were there any, comments that you could summarize in terms of, things people were looking for?
I would say I mean, I did a quick review of all of them. I largely left it up to Larry, and Larry and I are gonna still meet and discuss these as part of putting together an action plan.
Okay.
So I just wanted to get this all to you, but from my review of them, the biggest comments were on the cleanliness of the bathrooms and facilities. You know, which,
Still like, it's been like that for
yeah,
decades.
Well, that and the lifeguards,
yeah,
that came up a number of times.
yep. So those were, you know, the two things.
The survey, that was like SurveyMonkey or something, you sent out an email to?
So I actually did that on our website. So our website has a form capability, which, you know, works with SurveyMonkey. You'll end up having to pay for it. They give you some nicer visualizations and all, but it got us the raw data. And
So
so I
it's-
put it on it was a form on our website that I built. We took the link and then we emailed that out to all the members
You mean the township website?
on our township website,
Okay,
yeah.
that's good.
Yep.
Yeah, because I'm wondering, just bigger picture, and I'd like to see us consolidating everything and driving more towards our website,
That's what.
particularly for rec. And then everything else, like, you know, when we talk about like e-govs type stuff, you want to drive everything to the website so that the communications are simplified and you know how to get information out.
Yeah, that's what I did with the Narcan one. I had
Yeah.
the form on our website. I have shared the same goal. You know, the website is under construction. I've been, you know, going back and forth in the free time that I have from other priorities to get that redesigned. We gave them the okay not too long ago, so probably in the next month or so, we'll see the refresh go live. But, you know, with that form, that form was built into our website, so the data is
Good.
all there in our website, and it's not steering people to a SurveyMonkey website. I did exactly that, and that's the goal moving forward, is pushing more
Great.
towards our website.
Yeah, you did a good job looking for it.
Thank you.
And Larry did too.
Yeah.
I would say though that just that language, you could tell, whenever every category, it's only receiving 1%. Like, you know, it should probably be fairly 5% or 4%, you know, something other
Right.
than.
Tax collector and tax assessor submitted their reports. The one thing I will note, and, you know, I don't necessarily want to open up a Pandora's box on this, but just to put it out there, it was mentioned in the report. I'll have more information to report after the meeting, but we were ordered by the county, not ordered by the county, requested by the county tax board to come for a meeting to start talking about reval. So we're having that meeting December 21st or December 22nd. They haven't ordered us to do a reval, just to clear that out right now. They haven't ordered us to do anything. It's just a meeting with the tax board to discuss that. And we're not the only town that got these. A few other towns got them. Some of them probably in worse shape than us in terms of where they stand with their assessments. So more to come on that in January.
How much are revals running these days?
Revals? I think it would probably cost us somewhere between $300 to $500, depending on when we do it.
Okay.
Last one we had was before I started working here.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, it's been almost over 15 years,
Yeah.
probably closer to 20.
I've been here 17, so.
It's been a while.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they go usually when they, I mean, there's very few companies that do them in New Jersey. I think there's really two big players that do it, and they just charge you essentially by how many lines you have on the rolls. So, yeah, that's why I'm estimating $300 to $500, depending on what their rate might be, but it's gonna be somewhere around there.
Okay. It's a big hit.
Yes, now there is, you know, like that one along with a couple other things, the state does allow you to do what's known as like an emergency appropriation, or a special emergency appropriation, which allows you to spread that cost over 3 or 5 years, depending on the category of that expense. There's a few things that qualify for that. So, you know, we'll discuss that when the time comes. I don't think we'll be ordered to do it until any time sooner than 2025. Likely 2026 or 27.
That's when we have to deliver it, or that's when we?
We'll probably get the order sometime in 2024, and that order will set a date probably for 25 or 26.
Sorry, to do the reval or to deliver the reval, because it's gonna take a good year.
Correct, yeah,
Yeah.
so essentially to initiate the reval, probably in 25 or 26.
Okay.
The chapter 91 forms went out for this year, right? But were they ever sent out before? Because I brought up with the assessor, and I didn't get the feeling, the last time he was here, I didn't get the
I'll have
feeling
to check
they
if
went
they've gone out
in the
before,
past.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they've gone
Could
out.
you ask, or can I ask, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe better if you, maybe you ask,
Yeah, that's fine.
get the question on, were they sent out in the past? And if not, then, yeah.
Yep. That's it.
Alright. Just technically, we have to have the second
Yes.
hearing of the citizens, so the, committee room is open again to the public, both online and in person, pursuant to the same rules that I read earlier today. There's nobody here. Greg, is everybody online?
We do not have any hands raised.
Okay. So nobody else being here, we'll close the second hearing of the citizens, and, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, all right?
Good job, Mike.